Is Jessica Simerson, and I am the Career Services Specialist for Adult Education at West Georgia Technical College. The workshop I'm going to be presenting today is called Dressing for Success. I'd like to start out with a little introduction about myself. So, this slide has a little bit of information about career services for adult education and what that looks like. There are a few photos here. The far left photo is me graduating with my master's degree, which I'm very proud of. And it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. So, I was very excited to be able to accomplish getting a master's degree in a program that could provide me with the career that I wanted. The middle picture there is my husband who graduated from West Georgia Technical College with his welding diploma. I like to mention him and talk about his experience with West Georgia Tech and the welding department and the joy that he has found in welding and the great career that he has now since he has completed that program. To just encourage students to take part in technical education and know that you can have a valuable and lucrative career from that. The other picture here is what I like to get up to on the weekends. And I like to show that because I want to encourage you all to find a way to reinvest in yourself outside of work. Find something that brings you joy, that brings you peace, that helps to fill your cup after you've worked a hard week. And this is what I get up to. This is Buddy, the horse that I ride sometimes. And that's just something fun that I like to do on the weekends to help rejuvenate me so that I can come back to work and be ready to serve all of our students. We'll go ahead and dig into our workshop for today. So, what we're going to talk about is dressing for success and what that means. So, what is appropriate interview attire? How do you dress down? What does that mean? What does business casual mean to your employer? And daily attire or a dress code. How do you read in a dress code, interpret a dress code, and then follow that each day? So the image on the screen here is a what to wear versus a what not to wear for interview attire. So you can see the picture on the left there shows a woman and a man in their appropriate interview attire if they were going to a business type interview. The photo on the right there shows some things that we shouldn't wear, like mini skirts, super high heels, sleeveless tops, baseball caps, shorts, tennis shoes, all those kinds of things that we want to avoid in an interview setting. What is appropriate interview attire? So we have a little photo on the right there that gives some information, what you might get some bonus points for, what you might lose some points for. So make sure that your clothing doesn't have any stains, that you're not wearing tennis shoes. Make sure that you're fresh and clean and ready to go for your interview that day. One of the questions that we have to ask ourselves when we're preparing for interviews is what position are you applying for or interviewing for? The reason that is important is because that's going to determine how you want to dress for that interview. The example that I like to give is that when I applied for my current role, I wore a suit, a dress suit for my interview. But when my husband went to his interview for his welding position, he had to wear clothes that were appropriate to weld in because it was a practical interview. So I like to mention that so that you understand that it's going to depend on what you're interviewing for, what position you're interviewing for, and what you're expected to do during that interview. And those things are going to determine what it is appropriate for you to wear. So you want to be comfortable, you want to be confident, but you want to be appropriate in what you're wearing. Want to mention dressing down or business casual and what that means. So there is a little image on the right side of the screen here of a man and a woman and some appropriate business casual attire that you see them wearing. But each company may define business casual differently, but it typically does not mean that you can wear blue jeans. When they say business casual, it's a little bit more casual than your everyday wear, but usually does not include getting to wear blue jeans. So I just wanted to emphasize that. So, daily attire and a dress code. So, as an adult education student with West Georgia Technical College, you have a dress code that you should be following. So, we expect you to dress appropriately. And what we consider inappropriate clothing may include pajamas or showing your midsection, exposing your undergarments, or any clothing that might cause a distraction for other students. We want you to be comfortable, but we also want you to be appropriately dressed so that you can do your best learning in this environment and so that other students aren't distracted and can do their best learning in our environment. I also wanted to share the West Georgia Technical College employee dress code. So there's a little snippet of it here on the screen, and we'll go into more detail on the next slide. But West Georgia Tech employees also have a dress code that we're expected to follow. So we have a dress code for our adult education students to prepare you for the workforce, where you're also going to have a dress code and just getting you a chance to practice participating in a dress code and knowing what it means. And then also, I wanted to give an opportunity to go through the West Georgia Tech employee dress code so that you can kind of see what one's going to look like for you when you enter the workforce. So, our dress code states that we're expected to be professional, neat, and clean, have good personal hygiene, and dress appropriately for our job role. So we have different roles across the technical college where I'm in my position dressed differently than someone in maintenance or someone on our facilities crew or even one of our instructors who might be in a lab. So you will see people dress differently, and that's they dress appropriate for their position. Also, it states that when necessary, supervisors will make a determination of appropriateness. So our supervisors can come in and say, what you're wearing today is not appropriate. They might send us home to change our clothes, or we might have some disciplinary action if we repeatedly violate our dress code. And that is something that you will see at every employer. They're going to expect you to follow the dress code. And if they have to address something with you, they will. And as long as you act appropriately to that and make the changes that they tell you to make, then you shouldn't have to face any disciplinary action. A continuation of the West Georgia Tech employee dress code. And so it gives some examples here. So if you wear a uniform, it should be neat, clean, and properly fitted with shirts tucked in. We are expected to wear our ID badges or name tags when we're on campus or when we're off campus representing the college. Our hairstyles and facial hair should be clean, combed, and neatly trimmed. In some positions, we may have to wear our hair pulled back as a safety precaution. So, one example of that is if there is an instructor who is teaching chemistry or biology and they're in a lab dealing with chemicals, they may need to have their hair pulled back just so that they don't have any safety issues. It's definitely always a good idea to be minimal with your perfume or cologne. The reason for that is that some people have allergies, and if you wear a lot of perfume or cologne, that can cause them to be sick. So we want to be mindful of others and their needs. Also, it gives examples here of a professional business attire and what that looks like. So, collared shirts, khaki pants, suit pants, skirts, and blouses. So, those are all acceptable. But again, it makes a note that it's based on the job that you're performing. And then it also gives some examples of inappropriate business attire. So, tight clothing, revealing necklines, jeans, shorts, leggings, mini skirts, tank tops, all of those things, flip flops. Those are casual attire that our um, institution considers not a business like image. So, those are things that we should not be wearing. So, this is just an example of an employee dress code, and something like this is what you would have at your job as well. So, some top tips. When you're getting ready to interview, know that your clothes don't have to be super expensive. Check out a consignment shop or Goodwill. They have great deals on really nice clothes, and it can get you a nice outfit for your interview that you're comfortable in without spending a ton of money. Remember to dress appropriately for the job or the interview that you're going for. Remember our example of my husband going for his welding interview versus me interviewing for this job. Make sure that you follow your work dress code. Just be respectful of your employer and make sure that you're doing what you need to do and following that dress code. For interviews, either no or very minimal perfume or cologne, but have a clean and neat appearance. And review your job description and research your company. Just make sure you know what position you're applying for and that you have looked into the company and you know some information about it. That's going to give you confidence when you go into that interview. If you have any questions, you are certainly welcome to reach out to me. I will have my contact information at the end of this presentation. So we do have some upcoming workshops. So I'm going to continue dressing for success. We're doing that in May, and then we're going to have U Science, a presentation on that in June at all campuses. So we have a brief survey here. If you have a camera on your phone, you can scan that QR code and submit this survey if you've watched this. Thank you for your time today. So here is my contact information. If you have any questions or if there's anything that I can assist you with, please don't hesitate to reach out and I will be happy to help you however I can. So thank you so much for your time today. And if there's ever anything that I can assist you with, just reach out.